The quantum anomaly. The vast expanse of space stretched before the Galactic Confederation observation post Elysium 7, its sensors constantly sweeping across the darkness, cataloging and analyzing every vessel that passed through this busy sector. For over 3,000 cycles, the Confederation had maintained peace through knowledge. Nothing moved through their territory without being thoroughly scanned, assessed, and classified. High Science Director Zarvex floated in his gravity suspension chamber, his 6 crystalline appendages gently pulsing with bioluminescent light as he reviewed the latest anomaly reports. His species, the Tellurians, had evolved beyond physical form thousands of years ago, their consciousness housed in synthetic crystalline structures that channeled their powerful intellects. As the Confederation's leading expert in quantum detection technology, Zarvex had personally designed most of the scanning systems used throughout the galaxy. Director, the anomalous vessels have entered Sector 9, announced Junior Observer Krutal, her reptilian features betraying unusual concern. 3 human warships, designation unknown. Zarvex's crystalline form pulsed with a blue light of curiosity. Initiate Standard Scanning Protocol Alpha. The humans were newcomers to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel just 70 years ago. Their rapid technological advancement had surprised many elder species, but the Confederation had welcomed them, as they did all spacefaring races who agreed to abide by the Compact of Mutual Transparency, all except their military vessels, which remained stubbornly resistant to scanning. Scanning complete, Krutal reported, her clawed fingers tapping rapidly across the holographic interface. Results are inconsistent, Director. Zarvex drifted closer. Explain. The standard quantum resonance scans show contradictory readings. The vessels appear to be simultaneously constructed of 6 different materials, most of which are mutually exclusive. Power readings fluctuate between 0 and impossibly high values with no discernible pattern. This was not the first time human warships had defied Confederation scanning technology. For years, the diplomatic corps had requested clarification from Earth's representatives, only to receive polite but firm assertions that human military vessels were exempt from scanning under a clause in their admission agreement. The exemption had been granted temporarily while the humans established themselves in the galactic community, but patience was wearing thin. Implement Scanning Protocol Omega, Zarvex commanded. Full spectrum, maximum resolution. Krutal's scales shifted to a pale green, the equivalent of a concerned frown. Director, Protocol Omega has never been used on an operational vessel. The energy requirements are. I am aware. Junior Observer. Proceed. On the main display, the 3 human warships continued their steady course through the sector. Compared to the elegant biosynth designs of Confederation vessels, the human ships appeared almost primitive. Angular metal constructs with visible weapon emplacements and thrusters. The largest bore the designation Hess Defiance in human script across its hull. The station hummed as the Omega scanners powered up, drawing energy from the nearby star through quantum siphons. Theoretical models suggested the scan would penetrate any known shielding technology, revealing every component, crew member, and energy signature within the target vessels. Scan commencing in 3, 2, 1. The brilliant beam of coherent quantum energy lanced out from the station, enveloping the human vessels in a shimmering field of subatomic particles. For a moment, everything proceeded as expected, data streams flowing into the station's quantum processors. Then, without warning, the scanning beam folded in on itself as if being drawn into the human vessels. Warning alarms blared throughout the station as energy readings spiked beyond safe parameters. Impossible, whispered Zarvex, his crystalline form vibrating with shock. Terminate scan immediately. Krutal's claws flew across the controls, but the scan refused to disengage. Director, the quantum processors are experiencing some form of feedback loop. I can't. Her words were cut short as the main display erupted in a cascade of impossible readings. According to the sensors, the human vessels were simultaneously in thousands of different locations, constructed of materials that shouldn't exist, powered by energy sources that defied known physics. Worse, the uncertainty was spreading to the station's systems. Gravity fluctuated wildly, plunging from twice normal levels to zero, and back again in seconds. Lighting systems cycled through the entire spectrum. Environmental controls produced snow in one section and desert heat in another. Emergency containment, Zarvex ordered, his voice strained as his crystalline body struggled to maintain coherence in the fluctuating reality around him. Quantum isolation protocols. The station's emergency systems engaged, severing the connection to the scanning beam. But it was too late. The quantum uncertainty had infected every system, creating cascading contradictions that threatened to tear reality apart. In desperation, Zarvex activated the emergency communication system. Elysium 7 to HS Defiance. We are experiencing catastrophic system failures. Request immediate assistance. The response came almost immediately, a human face appearing on the fractured display. The woman wore a crisp uniform with commander's insignia, her expression calm despite the chaos clearly visible behind Zarvex. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the HSS Defiance," she said, her voice steady. "We detected your scanning attempt and the subsequent quantum cascade. Stand by for emergency stabilization." Zarvex's consciousness reeled at the implication. The humans had anticipated this outcome, which meant they understood what was happening. "What have you done?" he demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. Commander Chen's expression remained neutral. "We've done nothing, Director Zarvex. Your scanning attempt triggered a defensive mechanism we call the Schrödinger protocol. We're dispatching a quantum stabilization team to your station immediately. Please instruct your crew to remain calm and avoid direct observation of any unstable phenomena." Before Zarvex could respond, the display showed several human shuttles deploying from the Defiance, accelerating toward the station at maximum speed. The next hours passed in a blur of controlled chaos as the human specialists, wearing strange equipment that seemed to bend light around them, moved through the station. They deployed devices that gradually restored normal physics to affected areas, working methodically outward from the central core. Finally, as stability returned to the observation post, Commander Chen requested a formal meeting with Zarvex and the station's senior staff. "I believe we owe you an explanation," she said, standing in the conference chamber that had, until recently, been experiencing 17 different versions of reality simultaneously. "Though I must insist this information be treated with the highest security clearance." Zarvex's crystalline form had stabilized, but the experience had left him fundamentally shaken. In 3,000 years of existence, he had never encountered anything that defied his understanding of physics so completely. "Proceed, Commander," he said, his tone carefully neutral. Chen activated a holographic projector, displaying a simplified model of quantum particles. "What you experienced today was the practical application of something our physicists theorized centuries ago. We call it quantum observation collapse, or more colloquially, the 'don't look at me' effect." The hologram shifted, showing subatomic particles behaving differently when observed versus unobserved. Early in our quantum physics development, a scientist named Schrödinger proposed a thought experiment involving a cat in a box with a radioactive particle. Until the box was opened, the cat existed in a superposition of states, both alive and dead simultaneously. Krital, still visibly shaken, interjected, "But such effects only function at the quantum level. They cannot scale to macro objects." Commander Chen smiled slightly. That was the prevailing theory for centuries. Until we discovered the quantum resonance crystal on Mars. The hologram shifted again, showing a strange crystalline structure that seemed to shimmer between different states of existence. This naturally occurring material maintains quantum superposition at the macro scale. When we incorporated it into our ship designs, we discovered something remarkable. Vessels partially constructed with this material could exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, until observed. Zarvex's crystalline form pulsed with sudden understanding. Your warships exist in quantum superposition, and when our scanners attempted to observe them, the act of observation forced a collapse of the quantum waveform, Chen confirmed. But since our ships are designed to maintain contradictory states, the collapse creates a cascading uncertainty effect that spreads to the scanning system itself. A perfect defense, Zarvex whispered, his scientific curiosity overcoming his initial shock. Any attempt to scan your vessels creates a quantum feedback loop that disables the scanner. Commander Chen nodded. Precisely. It's why we requested exemption from scanning protocols. Not out of secrecy, but safety. As the full implications settled over the conference chamber, Zarvex realized that humanity had not just found a way to avoid being scanned. They had inadvertently created the perfect defensive technology. Any system that attempted to analyze a human warship would itself be compromised by quantum uncertainty. The Confederation would need to reconsider everything they thought they knew about these newcomers to galactic society. The impossible truth. The emergency summit of the Galactic Confederation Council convened 3 days after the Elysium 7 incident. Representatives from 17 species gathered in the Great Circular Chamber on Harmonium Prime, their diverse physiologies accommodated by specialized environmental fields. At the center stood High Science Director Zarvex, his crystalline form still showing stress fractures from his encounter with quantum uncertainty. Esteemed representatives, Zarvex began, his voice projected through the chamber's advanced acoustic system. What I experienced at Elysium 7 challenges our fundamental understanding of physics. The human vessels don't merely resist scanning. They weaponize the act of observation itself. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Elder Diplomat Therafin, her ancient reptilian form wrapped in the ceremonial robes of the Policy Directorate, raised a scaled hand. Director Zarvex, are you suggesting the humans deliberately attacked a Confederation observation post? No, Elder Diplomat, Zarvex replied. The humans responded with immediate assistance. What occurred was a defensive reaction, not an offensive action. The central doors parted to admit the human delegation, led by Ambassador Elena Reyes and Commander Sarah Chen. Unlike most species present, the humans wore no environmental protection, having evolved on a world with conditions surprisingly close to the Confederation standard. Ambassador Reyes stepped forward, her diplomatic training evident in her measured movements. Honorable representatives, we deeply regret the incident at Elysium 7. We have come prepared to offer full disclosure regarding our quantum superposition technology, provided certain security measures are agreed upon. The chamber fell silent. For 70 years, humans had maintained absolute secrecy around their military technology. This unprecedented offer caught even the most experienced diplomats off guard. Supreme Counselor Xandros, whose gaseous form swirled with patterns indicating intense curiosity, spoke next. We are prepared to hear your terms, Ambassador. Commander Chen activated a holographic display, showing a detailed representation of what they called the Schrödinger protocol. What you witnessed was not a weapon but a consequence of fundamental quantum mechanics. Our warships incorporate quantum resonance crystals discovered on Mars that maintain superposition states at the macro level. When external scanning attempts to resolve these states, the resulting collapse creates a cascade effect. She gestured, and a hologram showed the effects that had ravaged Elysium 7. We cannot deactivate this property. It's inherent to the material. But we can provide specialized equipment that allows for safe, limited observation that doesn't trigger a collapse. Zarvex's crystalline form pulsed with scientific excitement. You've developed technology that allows observation without collapsing the quantum waveform. Not exactly, Commander Chen clarified. We've developed a method of partial observation that creates a controlled, predictable collapse within safe parameters. Think of it as looking at a reflection in water rather than directly at the object. Ambassador Rice continued, we propose establishing a joint research initiative to further understand this phenomenon and develop standardized protocols for safe interaction with our vessels. In return, we request maintaining our exemption from standard scanning procedures, with alternative verification methods to be jointly developed. The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some expressing alarm, others fascination. Supreme Counselor Exandros called for order, his gaseous form undulating with authoritative patterns. This revelation raises profound questions about humanity's place in the galactic community. Exandros stated once quiet had returned. You possess technology that fundamentally alters how we understand reality itself. Elder diplomat Theravin's ancient eyes narrowed. What prevents you from weaponizing this effect? Creating devices that could induce quantum uncertainty in enemy systems. A tense silence fell over the chamber. The question voiced the unspoken fear of many present, that humans had inadvertently or deliberately developed the ultimate defensive technology, one that could potentially be modified for offensive purposes. Commander Chen stepped forward, her expression serious. The quantum resonance effect cannot be projected beyond the material itself. It only affects systems that actively attempt to resolve its quantum state. We cannot create a quantum uncertainty bomb, if that's your concern. Furthermore, added Ambassador Reyes, we've brought with us complete technical documentation on the limitations of the technology, which we're prepared to share under appropriate security protocols. Our goal is coexistence, not dominance. Zarvex, having experienced the effect firsthand, moved his crystalline form closer to the human representatives. I believe them. My analysis of the Elysium-7 data suggests the effect is indeed passive, triggered only by active scanning. The humans responded with immediate assistance when the cascade began. The Council debated for hours, scientific minds from across the galaxy analyzing the human presentation from every angle. Eventually, Supreme Counselor Exandros called for a formal vote. The Council acknowledges humanity's unique quantum technology and accepts their proposal for a joint research initiative. Human military vessels will maintain their scanning exemption, with new verification protocols to be developed collaboratively. Additionally, all Confederation scanning stations will be equipped with quantum stabilization technology to prevent future incidents. As the session concluded, Zarvex approached Commander Chen privately. There's something I don't understand, he said, his crystalline form pulsing with curiosity. Your civilization achieved faster than light travel only 70 years ago. How did you develop such advanced quantum technology so quickly? Chen smiled slightly. We didn't develop it. We discovered it. The quantum resonance crystal was already there on Mars, waiting for us. We simply learned how to work with it. But to incorporate such exotic material into functional spacecraft, Zarvex pressed. That level of engineering. Necessity, Chen replied simply. Earth was depleting its resources. We needed ships that could explore our solar system efficiently. The quantum properties were initially a nuisance. Our early sensors couldn't get consistent readings on the material. It took one of our scientists having a mental breakdown, convinced she was observing 17 different realities simultaneously, for us to understand what was happening. Zarvex's crystalline form vibrated with what approximated laughter in his species, so humanity's great defense technology was essentially an accident. Most of our greatest discoveries are, Chen acknowledged. The difference is, when humans encounter something impossible, our first instinct isn't to classify it as impossible, it's to ask how we can use it. In the months that followed, the Joint Research Initiative made remarkable progress. Human scientists worked alongside the finest minds in the Confederation to develop quantum soft scanning technology that could safely interact with the resonance crystals. Specialized training protocols were established for Confederation observers, teaching them how to interpret the deliberately ambiguous readings without triggering a cascade. For their part, humans agreed to clearly mark all vessels utilizing the quantum technology and to follow strict navigation protocols in high-traffic regions. They also shared limited quantities of the quantum resonance crystal for research purposes, though the material proved extraordinarily difficult to study without triggering uncertainty effects. 1 year after the Elysium-7 incident, Zarvex published his landmark paper, Quantum Observation and reality. Lessons from human technology, which would go on to revolutionize Confederation physics. In it, he proposed what became known as the Zarvex principle. The universe is not merely observed, it is negotiated through the act of observation. In the final paragraph, he wrote, "Perhaps the greatest lesson from our encounter with human quantum technology is not scientific, but philosophical. For millennia, the Confederation has believed that complete knowledge was the path to understanding. The humans have shown us that some things, by their very nature, cannot be fully known, and in accepting this limitation, we may discover entirely new dimensions of reality." Throughout Confederation space, a new protocol was quietly established for all scientific and military vessels. When encountering human warships, standard procedure was simple and unambiguous. Look, but do not scan.